about today is just a couple headlines for the week, and then we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go over a list of stocks that look really interesting to me this week, whether you're day trading or swing trading. Definitely a couple of nice setups to keep an eye on as we round out the summer. And then we're gonna go ahead and round it out with an example of really perfect flow that's going to confirm a trade. There was a couple examples last week, but there was one that really stood out that I want to go over for anybody using the app. It's really going to help you to understand kind of how flow translates into profitable trades, right? Because that's what it's all about. It's about using the app in order to become a profitable trader. So once we go ahead and go over that, we'll round out the meeting with Q&A. Just go ahead and help anybody with any questions you might have. So I think we're good now there, and let's go ahead and get started. All right, number one headline for this week is going to be the Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Price Index July report, and they're going to be announcing those numbers on Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, so an hour before market open. Now this really ties into basically what this report does is it really dives into the nitty-gritty of which specific sectors are experiencing inflation at what rate, the year-over-year rate of change, the month-over-month. So I'm not the biggest genius when it comes to this kind of thing, but I know that it's going to move the market, right? So what we can do, we don't have to be rocket scientists and understand every single detail of this report, but what we can do is once this report comes out, let's go ahead and let's keep an eye on the charts and see exactly how the institutions are going to react to this, right? Because we know the institutions are what's moving the market. So if there's any kind of volatility or drastic change in the market, we're going to know kind of what is the sentiment with inflation right now. And then, not too crazy of a week outside of that. Obviously, that's a huge headline. Outside of that, Disney is reporting earnings on Thursday after close. I want to keep a close eye on this earnings because I think this is really going to highlight. This is going to be the first true quarter that they were really open at full capacity. They opened the cruise line back up. Obviously, Disney World, Disneyland opened up. And beyond that, let's keep a close eye on Disney Plus, right? So I want to keep an eye on all those things because Friday on 0 day till expiration, the day after they report those earnings, could be a really nice play, right? We could catch some volatility. And, this is one of those opportunities where you could catch a 200, 300% day trade based on the volatility of this earnings report. I know any of you guys who like to do this, this is a strategy I really enjoy because Snapchat tends to report earnings Thursday after close. And then Friday morning, you can catch some pretty absurd moves on those contracts that expire that day because of how cheap they are. And the institution's really messing with the price action. So I want to keep a very close eye on those two headlines. Watch those for the week. The main thing I'm keeping an eye on is aggressive 60-minute confirmation in big names. And these big names are going to include Square, Tesla, NVIDIA, and AMD. I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about here. So all those names that I just listed, a lot of sideways action, right? So we're looking at the 60-minute chart here, a lot of sideways action last week. And then Friday started to kind of dip below our moving averages, right? So what I want to keep an eye on for continued upside, I want to see, can we go ahead and reclaim those 20-day moving averages with aggression, right? I want to see flow coming in. I want to see the volume spiking. I really want to see aggression through this because if we don't get that aggression, more than likely, if the bulls aren't ready to really push through those areas of supply, what's going to happen is we're going to reject to lower lows, right? So I'm not going to be necessarily trigger happy trading the upside if we reclaim this. More so I'm going to be kind of just sitting there and analyzing, okay, how do we react to this? Do we kind of, get a little sideways action and struggle, right? Big names, you got sideways movement, obviously Square had earnings, big breakout, pulling right back, right? Any of you guys that like to trade any kind of patterns on charts, you'll see this as a standard bull flag. Same thing, right? We're just looking for the breakout with some strength there. AMD, really the emphasis here is strong names that are starting to pull back a little. Let's wait for that reclaim and then play the upside, right? The traditional traders, they're going to wait for the break over the high. But really, we can go ahead and we can capitalize down here as long as we get some strength right there. So that's the main gist of that. Outside of that, Really nice setup on SNO. And I actually love this setup. I'm keeping a very close eye on this. We go to the daily here, 3 days in a row that we kind of rejected around that 279 spot. That's going to be a really nice spot to keep an eye on. Any kind of break of that, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit at the end of this meeting, go into a little more detail. These are the kind of setups that as we creep up on that 279 and you start seeing institutions buying 300 calls, 310 calls, 290 calls, when we see that, that's going to give us the heads up that we need to keep an eye on this because we're getting ready for that big breakout, right? We saw this exact same setup last week on Tesla and it gave us a $25 move. So these are the setups to keep a close eye on. And outside of that, Facebook is kind of setting up the same way around 365. And then just to kind of round out my watch list, I want to keep a close eye on Zoom. They had a huge red day on Friday, but that 406 level is looking really strong. And if we get any kind of lockdown or vaccine ineffectiveness fear, not to say that we may get reports of those things actually happening, but any kind of chatter in the market, any kind of fear of these things happening, right? Fear is what's going to drive volatility. Anytime we get that fear, we saw it the past couple of weeks with Moderna and with Zoom, any kind of fear is going to cause some really aggressive movement. So let's go ahead and let's capitalize on that volatility. And then last thing I want to keep a close eye on from a technical standpoint is going to be Moderna. Really holding on. If we go to the 60-minute chart here, they've been holding on to that 50-day moving average very well, right? We can zoom back here and we can see that almost for the past month, right? If we go back to July 14th, really holding on well to that 50-day moving average. We see they defended it on Friday. So I want to keep a close eye. If we pull back to this 50-day moving average at any point this week, I may be looking to play the bounce on it. Now, this may not be a traditional scalp bounce, but maybe we go a week or two out with our expiration and we go ahead and we ride it up to higher highs. Definitely a setup I'm keeping a very close eye on as well. All right, and then the last part of this that I just want to highlight for you guys, last week, actually Monday, right? We had that everybody in the market, you know, if you're following anybody or if you were taking a look at the charts, that 700 level on Tesla, right? Let's go ahead and let's pull that up. And this is why I brought up SNO just a couple minutes ago, because anytime we kind of have that stalling right on a certain level, right? So if we draw a line here right at 700, what do we see? We see that from June 24th to July 30th, right? So for a month and a half, pretty much, we went ahead and we were consolidating under this 700 level. And what happened? Finally, once we broke it, about a $30 move, right? Well, this is where keeping an eye on the flow in Titan is really going to give you that kind of heads up and that confirmation. So we talk about flow confirmation and aggressive flow. Well, for anybody that maybe struggles to understand this, I want to break it down really simply to what it is, okay? And I want you guys to imagine that the institutions they're just us. They're just like you and me, but they have a lot more money than us, right? And what are they doing? They see that 700 breakout and they're buying weekly 750 calls, $50 out of the money. That's our aggression, right? They're going $50 out of the money. That's a pretty aggressive bet. Not only are they doing that, put these guys in real quick. Not only are they buying it $50 out of the money, they're buying it with the weekly expiration, right? So we know us as retail traders, when we see a setup we really like, if we're going with a weekly expiration out of the money, we're trying to capitalize on the short-term volatility, correct? So it's the same thing going on here. Our chart is telling us 700 breakout looks strong. And now as we're at that 700 level, first half hour of the market open on Monday, we have 1, 2, 3, 5 orders in a row come in for those 750 calls. And let's go ahead and let's see what Tesla did on Monday. We'll go to the 5-minute chart here, August 2nd. Go ahead and zoom in on that. Okay, it went ahead, and a lot of people were asking me about this. What do you do when it breaks the level in pre-market, right? Because it got up to 704 pre-market. A lot of people get hesitant. They're like, oh, you know, it broke the level. You know, how do I play this? Well, it's just a traditional, right? Just like any name, when we get that aggressive gap up, just let it pull back a little. And you guys see here, we actually pulled right back into the 20-day moving average and boom. And right after that 5-minute candle is when we We go ahead and we get the confirmation over the pre-market highs, and then those institutions start to buy. So now I want you guys to imagine this with any setup you're looking at, right? Let's say we're looking at SNO on Monday, going into tomorrow at open. And we know that we have our breakout level on SNO. Go ahead and zoom out a little bit there. Oh man, it took me way back. We have that level at 278, 279, correct? So let's say pre-market, we get to 280 and we reject it and we pull back a little, and then we start to come back up on that pre-market high. And now you start to see the same kind of pattern come in. You see weekly call buyers, options expiring August 13th, which will be this upcoming Friday. 300 calls, 310, 320, 290. See them come in out of the money and repeat, right? This is our heads up. This is the institutions basically telling us we're making an aggressive bet because we know this thing's about to erupt. So that's kind of our heads up there to keep an eye on this setup, and let's go ahead and let's profit with them, right? With that, that's going to wrap up this meeting. And at this point, any kind of questions anyone may have, if you guys would like to ask questions, just go ahead and put that in the little chat box, and I can go ahead and unmute you if you want to ask me something. What money is aggressive for the flows? If you're talking in terms of amount of premium, right? So like we see here that these orders were about 100 to 300,000. Obviously, the bigger the better, right? More importantly than the amount of money, I would focus on the amount of orders in a row, right? Because if you see 5 or 6 orders in a row, repeat buying, that's pretty aggressive, right? So even though 100,000 isn't really a lot on Tesla, when you see 5 of those $100,000 to $200,000 orders coming in a row, that's where the aggression's at. Nazia, I got you. I'll take a look at that in a minute. Let me just get through these questions here real quick. Post watch list on the app. Yep. Can you explain QQQ puts? I see 32 million in puts on flow. Okay, so when you're looking at the ETFs, it's important to keep in mind that they're highly traded, right? QQQ and SPY, they usually trade about 100 million shares a day. So naturally, because they're so highly traded, they're going to have a lot of premium, right? 32 million traditionally isn't really a lot for the Qs, right? And what it comes down to is how much of that is aggressive. Okay, so don't worry about the 32 million. Worry about how much of that 32 million is aggressive flow. And if you see an overwhelming amount of aggressive flow in a row, and you see the put to call ratio very skewed, like 80% puts, 20% calls, that's going to kind of help you sift through that 32 million, because that 32 million doesn't really mean anything, right? Tesla could have 100 million and flow and call flow, but have a red day because maybe it was hedging, maybe it was in the money flow. So you really want to go ahead and filter it out by keeping an eye on the aggressive flow, out of the money, short-term expiration, volume greater than open interest, calls sent at or above the ask. Those are the details you want to keep an eye on that are going to kind of indicate that to you. Yep, no problem. And anybody that's interested in jumping in the Discord, where we kind of we share trade ideas, and you guys can ask us questions about the flow or anything like that. Mo just went ahead and posted the Discord link right there, so feel free to hop in. Regular membership and premium membership. So with the regular membership, you're not going to have access to setting alerts. Okay, so if you want to set alerts for a specific ticker or for aggressive flow, you can go ahead and you can enable that, and that'll send you a push notification just like you'd get a text message, so that you don't have to stare at the app, right? You can put your phone down if you're at work or if you're making breakfast, you know, whatever the case is, you don't have to stare at the app, right? The app is going to let you know through the push notifications when good flow is coming through the app, essentially. How does GS look this week? Thinking 400 breakout since I missed 385. Yeah, do they have earnings? Aren't we going through bank earnings, right? I know last week was a big week for bank earnings reports. Go ahead and take a look. Move that to the side there. Oh yeah, they definitely reported with a gap up like that. Yeah, I mean, So I'll just go ahead and kind of give you my insight into how I trade these huge breakouts like this. Whenever there's a massive gap up like that, I like to wait for the pullback. So absolutely, 400 looks like a good spot. 399, 400, that round 400 number, for whatever reason, traders really like to push that round number. I remember it happened with Roku the first time they broke 400 for no reason at all, just because it was the number 400. It exploded once it hit it. So definitely keep an eye on that. But, with these names, when they gap up big or they just have an absurdly big day, I like to wait for them to pull back a little on the 5-minute channel. So like if I was trading GS, I would say, let me see if they can go ahead and get down to maybe, 396, or really, if I wanted to be patient, 393.5 looks like a great spot to try to bounce this thing back up to 400. Outside of that, 399, I would say looks like a good number to try to target. But like I said, that 400 round number, for whatever case, I bet you that's going to be a number that they try to push. When is the AI update coming to the app? That's a good question. So we're currently in the process of back testing it, because we want to make sure that it's good, right? We don't just want to give you guys something that's okay. We want it to be top notch. So we're currently working on back testing it, making sure that it's highly accurate. Like I said, if it's only 75% accurate, we don't want to give that to you guys, right? We want something that's like 95% accurate. So we're just currently in the process of refining it and testing it, and then we'll get that out to you guys. Yeah, that's a good point on Tesla. A lot of people, when Biden first got into office, he talked about how the government would be shifting to fully electric vehicles and that they would be subsidizing Tesla. So absolutely, I would say maybe that is the case, maybe it's not, but let's keep an eye on the chart, right? Because the chart is going to tell us what the institutions think. If the institutions think that's a bad thing, then let's keep an eye. If they can break below that 698, then they have room down to 699, and then you're talking about room down to 670. Okay, so those are the kind of things to keep a close eye on. If you really want to see if you can scalp this thing, I would say a break below 698 probably gets you down to 690. Okay, and then from there, it's a matter of if the bulls can defend 690. If they can't, then it's a long way down. I will say, though, with a name like Tesla, especially on a Monday, I don't know that I would trade it based on a potential $8 move, right? I will say that all day on Friday, they pretty much could not reclaim this 20 days. So if you want, you could try to play the rejection at 700. Maybe if they reject 700, play puts on it, catch a $10 move potentially. But again, a $10 move on Monday isn't going to be crazy aggressive unless you're feeling really bearish and you want to swing it. Then I would say that's a possibility. Between flow and contracts. Did you mean between the two memberships? Or I'm not sure I fully understand that question, Devin. Nice, Garrett. Yep, absolutely. We could take a couple questions about. Go away. There we go. Yeah, sure. We can go a little more in depth. We got over the bulk of the meeting, guys. At this point, I'm just gonna be, answering any questions you have about maybe the charts or the TitanFlow app. Outside of that, we're pretty much done. But Facebook, a lot of consolidation here. Kind of tech in general, right? Last week was a pretty boring week in tech. But I would say, that 365 breakout, I think, is going to give an initial pop. And then just, based on the way these names break out, it's probably going to pull back and bounce. So I would say the initial breakout, I'm going to be looking at the 5-minute chart, and I'm going to see if it can trade up to this upper linear regression, right? So, because it's the 5-minute chart, it updates a lot. It may be at 368. I personally would anticipate about a $5 move, somewhere in that $3 to $5 range. It's probably going to pull back and then bounce, and then that might be where you get a more aggressive move. And another thing that to keep in mind with price targets is keep an eye on the flow, right? If it's just a traditional 365 breakout, it may give us a $3 move. But if it approaches 365 and then you see, $1 million come in through the Titanflow app for out of the money call buying on Facebook, that may give us confirmation that this is an even bigger move, right? Yep, that's a good call, Mo. Anybody, if you ever have questions about the app, maybe you don't fully understand, if you want to get in touch with us, when you open the app now, if you notice that little icon down in the bottom, that's actually, it's called Intercom. It's going to help you get in touch with us. Any kind of question you have, we have some articles set up that can, help you guys out, kind of explains what is Flow, how to use the app. And if you have a more complex question, you can just go ahead and reach out to us, and one of the traders from the Titanflow team can get in touch with you. Yep, we're recording right now, and we are going to be uploading it onto YouTube either tonight, most likely tonight. If not, we'll upload it tomorrow morning before market open. Stu, it's called linear regression. So it's basically, think of it like a smoothed out moving average. And it's just kind of giving you a last line of defense, right? So think of it, literally think of it as your last line of defense. Once you break out of all the moving averages, I kind of treat this as a hard resistance and a hard support. And then, like here, you might get a quick pop over it, but for the most part, it's going to respect it pretty nicely. So it's called linear regression. All you have to do, type in linreg, you'll get that. And then I just customize it. I take out the medium line. I don't find it too terribly useful, so I just take it out, but it's personal preference. I set the upper one red because red to me signifies that the stock is overbought, and then the bottom one green for oversold, right? Because this is likely an area we're going to reject, and this is likely an area we're going to bounce. So I highlight it that way just to kind of help my brain register what's going on. Yep. All right, guys, any last second questions? Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up here. Get ready to attack the week tomorrow. Oh, no, mind. I got you. You have time to go through the best way to use the app. Yeah, so tomorrow we're going to actually be uploading a refined tutorial. Right now, if you go on our YouTube, we have about a 5-minute, I believe it's about 5 minutes of tutorial for, it just explains every single page within the app so that you fully understand the app. And then we have a couple of videos that explain what to look for, right? So for anyone who jumped in last minute, we kind of rounded out this meeting by discussing, how to turn the app into a profitable trade, right? So we have a couple of videos up that kind of explain these kind of trades. We also have articles up in the help center within the app. If you click on the intercom, the little bubble, in the bottom right corner of the app, if you click on that, we have a bunch of articles that explain how to find profitable trades within the app. So I would say look at the articles and go on our YouTube and check it out, and that should help you out. And if not, you can go ahead and reach out to us. But I really want to emphasize to you guys, there's a lot of noise in the market, right? There's constantly, if you guys ever go to that middle page and you watch the flow that comes in, there's a flow order coming in almost every second, right? And it can be very overwhelming. You see puts, calls, blocks, all these different things. We created the aggressive flow filter to try to help you guys filter out the noise. So I really want you guys to take advantage of this aggressive flow filter, okay? Because this is what's going to lead us to profitable trades. Because I want you guys to think about what is the biggest difference between shares and options, right? Well, options, we can capitalize off short-term spikes, right? But we need volatility, because if we don't have volatility, we're going to lose money off of theta. I know most of you, if you've been trading for a while, you've experienced this. You enter a trade and the stock goes up. Maybe you buy calls on Tesla and Tesla goes up, but it takes so long to happen that you actually lose money and you're actually down on the trade because there isn't enough volatility. Well, that's the whole point of the aggressive filter app, right? When you see someone buying calls $50 out of the money that expire in 4 days, they are showing you that they have strong conviction that there's about to be a short-term spike in Tesla. So again, I'll show you guys that chart on Tesla. That gives us our confirmation. So now we have two things, right? We have flow confirmation and we have chart confirmation. When you have both of those things line up, that's a very strong indicator. So if we go back, right, those orders come in, and keep in mind, these are 5-minute candles. We pretty much go from $6.99 and we trade up to $7.28, right? A $28 move. The institutions were all over that. They gave us the heads up that that was going to happen. Our charts confirmed it, right? Those are the things we're going to look for. It's going to kind of help us filter out the noise. And that's why when someone else earlier asked, what do I make of 32 million in put flow on QQQ, right? And I told him, don't worry about the overall number because that's a lot of noise. There's block trades, there's in the money flow. We just want to focus on that aggressive flow. That's going to point us in the best direction for short-term volatility, which is how we're going to find really nice profitable trades. And if you need a visual, or if you just want to take time and read this out and, like I said, have a visual, Mo just went ahead and clicked the help. So I'll actually go ahead. What do you want? No, I don't want to report anything. Right. So click that app there or click that link. And we have a bunch of articles here, out of the money versus in the money, right? We click on that. It's going to go ahead and explain it to us. Just give us a quick explanation, right? And then we can go check out the app. Take you to the Discord. Boom, boom, boom. Money. And the YouTube channel, of course, go ahead and take a look at some of our videos that explain kind of what I've been explaining to you guys, but with a little bit more depth to it. And yeah. All right, guys, last second, any questions here? If not, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Got to get our beauty rest for the trading day tomorrow. Yes, I am. All right, guys, I'm going to call it here. Like I said, any questions, you can reach us through the app. Go ahead and join our Discord. Reach out to us through the Discord. We're here for you guys. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask, right? We're all here for the same thing, right? We're all here to make money. So let's utilize those tools. All right. Have a good night, everybody. I'll go ahead and post the watch list in the Discord. And any questions, like I said, just reach out on Discord.